The bottom of the barren sea. You mean to tell me that my replica Rick and Morty lab coat was on Titanic 2, which was created by the Australian billionaire, and that ship carrying my replica Rick and Morty lab coat has now sunk to the bottom of the ocean? Wow, that is literally unbelievable. Yes, I still want the replica Rick and Morty lab suit. I don't see how that's your business, all right? I need it so I can pretend to be a teacher on this YouTube series. I mean, come on, lady. What's going on here? Yeah, I'm fine with waiting another month. Yeah, that's fine. Just get it to me, and please let it look just like the one from the television program Rick and Morty. I really want my lab coat to look just like the one from Rick and Morty. Perfect. All right, yeah. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. I had to take that call. Hello, I am Bjorn, your writing teacher, except I'm bad at it. And today we're doing another lesson. And today's lesson is one nobody asked for, but I'm going to do it anyway, all right? I'm the teacher. I'm the professor. So today's lesson is on magic systems. Technically, the introduction to magic systems. And as this is an introduction, this will be a rather short lesson. I've got my pointer, and I can use it to point. Like I'm pointing to something very impressive right here. You see? This is a huge tool. This is going to really help elevate the videos. So, what is magic? I mean, I don't think I have to tell you, but I'm going to anyway. Magic is a system by which someone gains powers which are otherworldly through varying systems of supernatural abilities. Magic is always, by its very nature, supernatural. It's not real. I'm sorry, TikTok witches. You're not casting spells on Donald Trump. I'm going to tell you, that's not happening. Magic is, by its nature, not real. It can be pulled from real folklore. It is a supernatural power granted by something other than what is normal. And that is the most vague I can possibly make it. But even with that definition, you sort of know what magic is. It can do any number of things. It can be performed any number of ways. Its power can come from anything. But magic can really be classified into two main groups and one subgroup, in my opinion. And as I am wont to do, we're going to make a chart. This chart is actually more of a spectrum chart. As you can see, we've got a spectrum. On one end, this end over here, we've got hard magic system. On the other end over here someplace, we've got soft magic system. And right here in the middle, we've got a half-chub magic system. And those are really our three groups. Now, our half-chub magic system is sort of in the interim between a hard and a soft. We're on our way from a soft to a hard, and in the middle we wind up here. Typically, you don't stay at this level. I don't think really ever. Usually, you're always moving from soft to hard. And it should be noted you can never move from hard to soft, despite what certain people on the internet would have you believe. Just bear that in mind. So, what is a hard magic system and what is a soft magic system? Before we touch on that, I'd like to say this. Most of the time, when you hear someone critique the concept of magic in fiction, they'll tell you something like this. Magic is bad and fantasy is a bad genre because magic can solve any problem. There's never any stakes in a story when there's magic involved. And when you hear someone say something like that, 9 times out of 10, they're talking about this. Soft magic systems. Now, soft magic system is best defined as a magic system where the magical powers are vague and you don't understand what they can do or where the true nature of their powers come from. That's not always 100% true. Like sometimes the powers are very vague, but you understand where they draw their magic from. That's still a soft magic system. Let me go into some more examples so that you can understand what I'm talking about. A soft magic system. Examples include Lord of the Rings. Can any one of you tell me what Gandalf's powers actually do or where he gets his powers from? You can't. And that's because it's a soft magic system. It doesn't matter. That's not what the story is about. So Gandalf can theoretically do anything to solve any situation. Now, Tolkien is a good writer, so that doesn't typically happen. But still, I mean, Gandalf resurrects himself from the dead. How does he do that? I mean, they kind of explain it, but you're like, huh? So, soft magic system. More examples of a soft magic system include I would argue Greek mythology. I mean, sure, they're the god of the sun and the god of whatever, but then they can also like create people. They can do all these other things. They turn people into trees. Like, what is the limit of the Greek god's power? This is kind of a nebulous example, but I definitely feel like it works. And I'm the teacher here, damn it. I make the rules. So, we understand vaguely what a soft magic system is. So what's a hard magic system? Well, it's the opposite of that. I mean, it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. This is self-explanatory, all right? A hard magic system is a magic system where the rules of the magic are very clearly defined, have limits, and will never break those limits. These are rules that are set in stone. Your magic works one way, we understand how it works, we understand why it works, and we understand what it can do, and it will never do anything outside of that without explanation. This is my favorite kind of magic system. This is the best kind of magic system. I don't care, all you soft magic lovers, you're idiots and you're wrong, and I hate you, all right? We're getting polarized on magic here, okay? And you're incorrect in your opinion. I'm just gonna straight up tell you. Examples of hard magic systems. I'm going to go with Mistborn for my book example, since I'm a fantasy book nerd. In Mistborn, the characters get powers based on A, genetics. What sort of genetics do they have? If they're what's called a coin shot, they have the specific ability to push metal with their mind, i.e. they can push something away. If they're what's called a lurcher, I think if I remember, they can pull metal towards them. They get these powers, the cause of the magic, by swallowing certain metals which burn as fuel. These set several rules in place. If you are born a coin shot, you can only ever push on metal away from your body, and only when you swallow iron, I think it is. God, I've got to reread these books, guys. I'm sorry. And so those are two rules. You have a fuel. If you run out of metal in your stomach, you burn it all using your powers. You cannot use your powers anymore. Limitation. You can only ever do one thing. If you're a Mistborn, you can use all of the powers, but only when you have swallowed the proper metals, and that is a rare genetic abnormality. So we have a set rule. The powers only ever do exactly what you're told they do. That way, when someone solves a problem using their powers in the narrative, you do not feel that this is like some nebulous thing. It feels earned, and you understand why. This is the benefit of a hard magic system. If you want another example, Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is the obvious example that literally everyone who teaches this gives, so, well, shit. But hard magic systems are, they are what they are. And this is one that everyone knows. In Avatar, you are born as a certain type of bender. You can use that element to your advantage. Unless you are the Avatar, in which case you can use all four, but there's only one of them at a time. Done. Simple rules. A firebender will never pull water out of their ass and start using it at any point. They will only ever bend fire. Same with waterbenders. They're only ever going to manipulate liquids that are like based in water. This is something that's set in stone, so that when a character uses their power to solve a problem, it does not feel unearned. Are we getting this now? Great. Now, that's not to say soft magic can't be good, just because I prefer hard magic. In fact, DC and their magic, as well as Marvel, largely operate on a soft magic system. Let's be real. What are the limits to Doctor Strange's powers? What's that? There are none? Crazy. How does Doctor Strange get his magic? Books? He just does? Soft magic. DC, same thing. What are the limits of Constantine's powers? What's that? There are none? What's that? He can just kind of do whatever within reason? Soft magic system. Now, there are a couple of heroes who I'm sure have very specific things they can do. Like in my own scripts, Dr. Mist, for example, has one very specific power and it works one very specific way. His powers rely on a hard magic system, but magic in the DC and Marvel universes and most comic universes in general is very soft because they often need to just make a magic person solve a problem in the script, and they're too lazy to set hard rules down. And I don't even blame them. Those guys were dropping acid, doing cocaine. It was the 70s, man. They were just having a good time. Who can really blame them? But that was sort of where magic was at the time, too, when these comic characters were created. Magic was almost all based on Lord of the Rings or Dungeons and Dragons. That was what was popular at the time. And those systems, well, not so much Dungeons and Dragons. I would argue Dungeons and Dragons is kind of like a half-chub, but we'll get into that later. They were all written as soft magic. Hard magic really became popular much later. So you start to see that start to rise back in those times. So back when those comic characters were invented, Magic was typically more soft than it was hard, so you tend to see characters who are softer. In more recent years, most Magic systems you're going to read are going to fall into hard. You very rarely see a soft Magic system anymore. So, what are the advantages and disadvantages to both? Because there's always advantages and disadvantages. The advantage to a soft Magic system is mystique. It's mystery. We don't know how the magic works, so it makes it feel magical. It makes it feel intriguing. However, when you have a hard magic system, your magic feels scientific. It feels logical. We understand exactly how and why it works, so that when a character uses it to solve a problem, it never feels like an ass pull. And this is because it is understood exactly what it is and how it works. This can work for anything. If you're writing cape shit, you want to make a decision first and foremost which of these two you want to pick, and you want to stick to it, because once you're in the hard magic, you can never go back to the soft magic. This is a rule. Once we understand how the magic works, we can never go back to not understanding how the magic works. You see? It's pretty logical. So if you're going to move from one to the other, you can always start at soft and go to hard. And in fact, my favorite fantasy stories started as soft and then slowly moved to a hard as we begin to understand the magic better along with the characters. So let's talk about moving from soft to hard. You want me to give an example of a story that starts as soft magic and gradually becomes hard magic. Better yet, I'll give you two. But let's start with the one that most people will know. Star Wars. You know, classic space adventure. Ha ha ha. Wookiees, spaceships. Whoa, lightsabers. So, Star Wars. We start with young Luke Skywalker, who is introduced to a mysterious world of an ethereal power called the Force. In the beginning, it seems very mysterious. We don't understand what it comes from or how it works. And it's sort of nebulous. It can seemingly do anything. But as these movies go on, we gradually move from a soft magic system to a hard magic system. Luke learns the ways of the Force. He learns all of the powers that the Force can do. And for the most part, we don't add new powers once Luke's learned them all. And in the prequels, we move from a half-chub magic system all the way to a hard magic system when we learn about midichlorians, the source of the Force's power, which I hate. I'm going to go ahead and say that. This sucks. Star Wars should have stayed as a half-chub, but whatever. Also, we learn about all of the powers the Force can use, and we never added another power ever again, and Star Wars stayed in a stasis of hard magic, and we never just randomly ass-pulled new powers ever again. Gee willikers, I sure like how this wound up. Let's look at another example. Why, it's the King Killer Chronicles. Whoa. Our main character, I think his name is Quoth? Quoth, yes. Begins his training as a traveling mummer or a poet, and eventually goes to a school for magic and is slowly taught about a very unique and interesting magical system. The magic starts mysterious and wonderful, but very quickly slips into hard magic when we learn exactly how its rules work. The rules for this story are set in stone, and they don't really tend to change much. And much of the lore of the series and the way magical creatures and fae folk and stuff in that story work is operate on a hard magic system. They work in a certain way, and once we understand it, it never changes. And that way, when Quoth uses his powers to do things, it never changes. Now, if only Quoth could use his powers to get Patrick Rufus to put out the last book, but that'll never happen. This story is in a very Game of Thronesy way, so as much as I would love to recommend reading the King Killer Chronicles, I can't necessarily say that because there will never be a third book in this series, unfortunately. So, that's two examples of soft to hard, and as I said, you can never go from hard to soft. Because once you understand a magic system, you can't go back to not understanding it. That's just not that's not how it works. Now, I did say that some stories sometimes stop right in the middle here at a half chub. I would say an example of that is Harry Potter. Now, Harry Potter has its set of rules, but they always occasionally just kind of drop in something else wizards can do, and we don't really understand where magic comes from so much. We more understand what it can do, but also there's always just new spells being created, so we're sort of in the middle. There's a set of rules that they follow and they tend to stick to, but also there can be new spells and new things that wizards can do, so it's kind of, arguably, it's actually somewhere in between a half chub and soft, if I was going to argue it, but whatever. You get what I mean. There's a spectrum here, and stories fall upon it. But stories always move from soft to hard, as I've said. Now, the benefits of going from soft to hard are pretty great. Now, you do lose the mystique, but somewhere in the middle here, when you're around half chub, as you move from soft to hard, you get this sort of catharsis of understanding where you figure out the magic system and you figure out how things work and you realize all the inventive ways the magic can be used that you don't really get when you don't understand what the magic can and can't do. And as you go from wonder, you kind of move towards understanding. And there's a certain, there's a certain enjoyability to both of these. And when you move from soft to hard, you sort of get the benefit of both. But again, once you're in hard, there's no going back. So be absolutely sure you want to do it before you do it. You know what I mean? You just got to make a decision. You might be thinking to yourself, wow, all stories must start as a soft magic system and move towards a hard. And technically you are correct, but a lot of stories just kind of go from soft and jump to hard almost immediately. So much so that you can basically just say they're a hard magic system right from the beginning. Avatar: The Last Airbender, you basically understand everything you need to know about that world and the magic system within the first 2 episodes. Full Metal Alchemist, another anime, which operates under the laws of equivalent exchange alchemy. You can only create something if you put in the exact amount of it from something else. The one exception being the mythical Philosopher's Stone, which allows you to sort of transfer something into something else without an equivalent exchange. We learn about that in the first 5 seconds of the episode, basically the first 5 minutes. To fully understand it, one can argue, and I do, that this starts as a hard magic system and remains there. The rules are set in stone, and while you can understand new things they can do with their powers, it never changes those core rules. It's more like they use those core rules in really creative ways to do things you wouldn't have expected with the magic system. They never start soft. There's no wonder or mystique to alchemy. It's almost instantly explained how it works. This works really well for that particular story, especially given that it's a story rooted in science, discovery, and understanding. Something that isn't really rooted in mysticism. It's rooted in understanding. So this theme of instantly jumping into hard magic fits that particular story really well. And for any of you who've never watched Full Metal Alchemist, you're missing out. That show is the shit. It's so good. Oh my god. So yeah, that's really all I have to say. As I said, this doesn't explain how to craft your own magic system. This is explaining the general basis of where all magic systems start and where they end up. If you start to read stories now with magic, you're going to very quickly pick out between the two. And now you can tell your parents, hey, Mom, I know about hard magic, and I know about half-chub magic. Don't tell that to your parents. That's a joke for those who aren't aware. Don't do it, guys. I don't want to get canceled on here. Right? But yeah, I think we've had a lot of fun. We've all learned about magic. We've gotten some great story recommendations. I would recommend basically every story I talked about here, except for maybe the King Killer Chronicles. Wait for that 3rd book, all right? But, yeah, this has been a good lesson. In the comments, let me know what lesson do you want to learn next, all right? I might listen to it, or I might just completely ignore you and just do my own thing like I did today. But I love magic, and it pisses me off to no end when people tell me, oh, magic stories suck because magic can do anything. And they don't even know what a soft magic or a hard magic system is. So now you know, all right? Don't be ignorant. All right, I've been your teacher. And I'm leaving it in today. This is going to be on the quiz, so make sure you study, all right? I don't want to catch any of you failing. I'll be very disappointed, all right? I might even come out of your closet and get upset, so you don't want that. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment if you disagree with me. Leave a comment if you agree with me. And as I said, let me know if you want to have an idea for what I should cover next, or you're curious about something. Let me know. Maybe I'll do a video.